And welcome to the Mashpee School Committee meeting of October 18th, 2017. The meeting is starting at 6:31. And first item on the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And the next item on the agenda is public comment, and there is no public here, so there is no public comment. All right, moving on. Next, we have the approval of the meeting minutes from October the 4th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? None? Nicole?
Yes.
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 Yes? That's 4. Don is here.
Are you voting then?
Yep, we're on approval of minutes.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Sorry.
All right. Schedule. We should run this more often.
Can we start at 6:30?
Next item is the report of the business administrator. Mr. Funk?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Moving on to the business, the status of the FY18 budget report. As you know, this is only the second meeting since the opening of schools, so the balances are still pretty healthy in all of the accounts in all of the schools. We are now getting into the areas that are going to start purchasing, and you'll get to see. I just want to point out a couple of items. If you'll notice on page 20, the out of districts, we are keeping a very close eye on this. We are now using circuit breaker money. That's why the account is in negative 158. As we pay the bills, we pay them and then back them out into the circuit breaker account. In other words, we don't charge it right directly to the circuit breaker revolving account. And you have a year to spend that money, those funds.
So that's
Oh, I'm
year
24.
20.
I'm sorry, 24.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm on track.
Oh, okay. I was like, I don't see anything bad on that page.
Yeah, I know. It's 24 at the top. I did a projection there. We are still in the plus, but we do have some students that may go out in the next few months. We're trying to hold it strong, but right now we're in a positive amount.
When you say out, you mean out of district?
Out of district, yeah. We could have some other ones. There were a couple of things that came up. The sped director has been holding steady. One particular situation, they wanted to move this child from one out of district to another out of district, which would increase the out of district by $50,000. So she did hold that student where the student is right now, so that we won't have to have a $50,000 increase in that out of district. And my theory has always been, every day that goes by, I'm saving on the $50,000. The other,
So, Paul,
yeah, go ahead. Yep.
I guess a question on that, and unfortunately, we don't have the SPED director here, because it's probably a question more for her to respond to, but do we feel that we're meeting the service requirements and expectations
The student
here versus, I'm assuming it's the parents or others that are driving the request for considering
Can I answer
an
that?
alternate place?
Instead, just because this is sort of what I do too.
it's not something we can respond to in a public, actually at all, but the special ed director always is making sure that the child is being offered a free and appropriate public education in the least restrictive environment. That is the standard by which she makes all of her decisions.
Yeah.
So the answer would be yes for any student you could ask us about who receives services through an IEP.
But I know we've had questions in regard to, from a budgetary standpoint, whether or not we were able to provide all of the services that we want to. And so here's a situation where, there's a change, or extrapolate that for other individuals just in general.
Right.
And so I guess my where am I headed here?
Well, I think, if
Help me out here, please.
I think that without violating any of the privacy rules, I think we can at least get like a pain point, or like a list of pain points that the families are, what are this,
You really can't. Not when it comes to special education. But
without naming names, and
no,
we
because
can't say
this
that.
case there are so few numbers in these scenarios, but let me I think what
Yeah.
you're asking is, are there things budgetarily that we wish we could do for kids that we're not able to do, so they go out, or they want more, or they want, in this scenario,
Ultimately, yes.
without giving you any details, that is not the case.
It's
That is
not
not
possi-
the challenge or the struggle
Okay.
or the issue at all, not even a little bit.
Okay.
The other thing I would just put out there, just from a perspective of the requirements for special education, it doesn't matter what you budget. If the team makes that recommendation, we have to provide it. So they will make the recommendations for what kids need, because they have to. And then thank God we have Mr. Funk who
Yeah.
can work his magic, but
I don't know about that.
We have over a dozen out of district, right?
more than that, actually.
Yeah, so so there's no common thread of services or specifics that we cannot provide as a district that we can discuss in an open forum to see how we can address that?
That's a different question from what you're
and that's where I'm
asking,
coming from.
what you were asking.
Oh, yeah, ultimately,
Yeah.
that is
Okay.
the question of, are we providing,
And it could be budgetary, I don't know. We have to discuss
yeah,
it.
are we providing adequate services, within the budget that we have?
Right.
And as we, in particular, having discussions in regard to next year's budget, and we have to kind of throw our dart up there on the board, where, as Jeff points out, where are those gaps?
And I think that's Mrs. Curley's, or Dr. Curley, sorry, Dr. Curley's job, is to look at that from a systemic setting, and look at the gaps and so forth. That's a bigger conversation, but I know that's what she does. The other piece to this, though, is that there are some kids for whom the least restrictive environment is not here.
Yeah.
There are some kids.
Oh, yeah,
And
of course.
I would just, what I know, the little I know of special ed here, as an administrator who works very closely with Jamie, because it's what I did for so many years, I wouldn't guess that there are a heck of a lot of kids out of district right now that we could adequately service in district. It doesn't look that way to me at all.
Okay.
Doesn't mean it's
Yeah.
not.
Right.
And the bigger system issues, yeah, we should have that conversation. But that needs some prep work.
Goes along with
Well,
this goes
right,
along with
and-
Nicole's advocacy
Yeah.
point for the budget advocacy. If we can sit there and say, we have X number of dollars that we spend on average every year for out of district. We've identified the following gaps, but
If we could.
it's going to cost this much money to address those gaps. And there's a cost-benefit analysis there that we can probably fight very easily.
Yeah.
You know.
And so, coming back full circle, I wasn't looking for an answer to that question. I want to put that question out there,
Yeah.
though, so that it's something that we can address at the appropriate time in the future.
And I do have conversations with Dr. Curley also, but as as Hope has said.
It's Hanscom. It's Dr. Hanscom.
Okay, Dr. Hanscom has said,
I'm going to go get my
as
doctor.
Dr. Hanscom has said,
That's Doctor.
we're constantly, reviewing that, and there are, I don't think there are hardly any.
But I would say, would it make sense for you, and I hope that I'm not overstepping here, Mr. DeBoer, but would it make sense to put on the agenda for another meeting for Dr. Curley to give kind of a presentation in the general sense of what work, I mean, she's new, so you gotta give her a little bit of time, but like what she's noticed that are, like, that, have that conversation
No, I think that,
as like a
that's what
presentation to
we're,
the school committee.
I think that's, at least from my perspective, that's what I would be looking for.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and I think, I've definitely had, since I joined the school committee, I've had people talk to me in town about different issues that make me realize that it's not very clear to people what our obligation is under special education and what we're responsible for as the public school district. So I think having a topic around that at a future school meeting might be good, just generally to educate everybody about what our role is. I think they'd be surprised that we spend over $1 million a year just on that, given that our budget's only $20 million. So,
Yeah.
so I think that's a great idea.
All right, we will put that on the list for future agendas. All right, sorry to now get us back on schedule.
Okay.
No, I didn't mean to take us to crazy place
No, that's
either.
right, it's 5-minute discussion.
No, that was worthwhile, so thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hanson.
It is my pleasure. Always my pleasure.
Good, I understand. I'll entertain questions.
I have 2 pages, if I may, unless somebody wants to jump on.
Nope.
On your page 11, our page 15. I believe we discussed the high school building maintenance. I don't remember there being the $12,000 deficit for Quashnet. Am I missing that? Am I just old? Page 15, our page 15, page 11 on your package. It's basically the
yeah,
building
okay,
maintenance
got it.
line items, yeah.
The Quashnet, that is the 3-zone paging system that was.
We did discuss that, didn't we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember if we discussed it or not.
And, the high school was the
Right,
TV
the TV
studio,
studio.
and the KCC was the $124 on the new ovens that we installed over there.
That's unacceptable.
That's what?
No, good.
Well, no,
$124.
That's the
I'm not gonna argue about that.
That's the overage.
Oh, yeah.
That's not the total cost.
Oh, okay.
No.
And then I had one more question on our page 25,
Okay.
your page 21. For school committee other, I was just curious, just curious what we had
Stuff that
done over our
contract on the
budget.
policy
Oh, is that what it
guidance,
is?
the mask stuff.
That's the policy.
There we go.
That was there were 2
We had a
items.
whole other retreat, we just didn't invite you to.
Yeah, that's all right.
It was way fun.
Yeah, I bet so. Yeah. Sushi and clowns. Yeah, I know. It's-
No clowns, no clowns.
Are there any other questions?
I don't have any.
No, sir.
Everyone else? Okay, good.
Moving on to school committee page 26, which is the grants. The grants are done in the fall. We have received funds, Title I funds, which are funds from the previous FY17 that we carry forward. Title II, we do have the approvals. The first drawdown will come between the 20th of October and the 31st of October.
Would you mind just refreshing my memory on each of these? Title I is that the low income?
No, well,
It's reading, right?
that's the No Child Left Behind. Maybe I will refer to Dr. Hanscom
Oh,
on these.
no.
No,
No,
do you
Title
want
I
me to
is
do Title I?
based on, I do, but that doesn't mean I should speak to it. Title I is based on our level of free and reduced.
Okay, that's right, that's the free and reduced lunches, and then what's 2A?
2A is teacher quality grant, so it's used primarily for reducing the class sizes.
Okay,
Title IV, from what I understand, because I wasn't here last year, but we didn't have it where I was either, is new this year, and we have written it. for-
We didn't have it last year.
Right. We have written it for social emotional learning
And that just got approved,
and behavioral health.
$6,000.
oh,
So
okay.
it'll show up in the next.
Do you want to keep going with what the rest of them are? 94, that's the SPED entitlement, special education entitlement grant.
Okay.
The SPED program improvement 274 is professional development to support special education, but it's not just for special educators. And then early childhood SPED program improvement is the preschool version of 274.
Cool, thank you.
Sure. Oh, wait, there's more. 262, sorry,
Yeah.
is preschool, early childhood. not necessarily professional development, though.
Okay.
Inclusive preschool learning environments is not one that I had before, but I think it's to support inclusion in a preschool learning environment.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
It's one of the ones that didn't have the explanation that I was.
Yeah, those are the hits.
Thank you.
Sure.
Sorry, Paul.
That's okay. She did a very good job. I just want to make one other, if you look down at the bottom, the FY17 reimbursement of $302,436 Medicaid reimbursement that we get and goes to the town, as you know. But I just want to show the figure there.
It's a pretty good one.
Yes, it is.
The central office staff does a great job on that. There's a lot to it. It's not like they just give you $302,000.
Is that big jump because we've identified more people?
That is correct.
Meaning the paperwork's gotten better, or we actually have more people who qualify?
More people.
Oh.
More people qualify. Community, any questions on the grants? You'll see a big change in the next month because the drawdowns will start to come in, as I said, the end of the month. They're usually approved in August and September, and then revolving accounts and privately funded grants. Community school had an increase of $1,260. That was revenue from summer school. Lost book account, no changes. Preschool is $490. That's basically the 3-year-olds, the integrated preschool. Facility rentals, $962. School choice, there's an attached sheet that I will go over. And school to career, this is a grant, a private grant that's received by the school. And we had $1,475 in receipts. Before I get into the transfers, I'd like to skip that and go to the school choice. At the end of the fiscal year, we had $626,052.46. Since then, you can see from July 7th on, these are all of the expenditures that we did. Down at the bottom, you'll see $436,539. That's after that's the balance after everything has been paid, and the $4,016.45 is the amount that is encumbered right now. So that, if you take the encumbrances off of the 436, remember that's the balance after everything above has been paid, you're going to come up with 432,523. Now, there has been some talk about setting a ground on the school choice funds. If you turn to the next page, one of the things...
Really quick, Paul, so what's the 369, 759 then?
I'm sorry, the what?
So you said it's, take the encumbrances out, we get 432, 523, and then we have a FY18 receipts.
Okay, that's what I'm going to get into
Oh, okay.
right now, okay? The FY18 receipts, if you look up at the top here, those receipts, the 31,332 twice up there, that's the 62,764.
Okay.
We've actually received another payment at the end of September, so you can add that on, which brings it up to 94,096. So the way I presented using the choice funds, this was my recommendation, was to do it in a year in arrears. In other words, what we accumulated last year and what was left in the pot, we spend this year. The 94,096 starts building for next year. So when we get into the FY19 budget, I'll show you where I expect to spend the money and where we offset it. And there's going to, excuse me, there's going to be some leeway there. So there's going to be, I'm not wiping out the $500,000 that we are projected to get. So.
So I'm still confused, though, because,
Okay.
so 436,539 is the current balance minus the encumbrances, and then you're.
No. The 436,539.70
Mhm.
are the bills that have been paid.
Okay, but it's under
I'm
beginning
sorry, I'm
balance.
sorry.
Yeah,
The 436,539 is what's left after the bills have been paid.
right.
The 4,016.45 is the bills that,
Right, they're
I have
encumbered, right,
stuff
right.
that's still out there. And if you take that off of the 436,539.70, you come up with the 432,523, which you saw on the preceding page.
And then you're taking that 62,000 of receipts off of that?
Off of that.
To get the balance?
So now I have a balance of
Okay.
369.
Which we can spend this
759.
year.
That
Yeah,
is
got it.
correct. That's
Okay.
what I want to spend. If you turn to the next page, you'll notice right up, there's the 369, 759. I asked Mr. Maroney to give me a projection of his expenditures for the rest of the year. PCG, that's a fixed figure, 56,000. Microsoft licensing, 18,705. That bill just came in. Clear Touches, which we're trying to replace the whiteboards, which will replace not only the whiteboards, but it also replaces the laptops so that we don't have to issue another laptop. And then Hub Tech projection system, which is going in at the high school, that bill came in today, 43,307. He had estimated 45,000. So this is what we expect right now. It shows a balance of 25,054, but he has already submitted a couple of smaller bills. So my feeling is that if we spend down FY17's money and then start building 18's money to spend next year, that would be my recommendation. Because, you're showing funds coming in, and you'll see in the FY19 budget that I did offset some of the costs for technology.
Doing this, though, gives us no available source of funds left, other than what's coming in for this year, which I thought, or at least it was my understanding, that FY18 funds that are received aren't guaranteed until after the school year is over. Is that?
No, we're getting them now. I just showed you 94,000.
No, I know, but it was my understanding from a previous conversation that we couldn't, that there was a potential that we might not get all of those funds, but you're saying that's what we physically received. There's no way it can be clawed back.
Not that I know of.
Okay.
I haven't heard anything.
Okay. So
Choice, circuit break is a different story.
okay.
It's a different story. We're going to receive less percentage this year than we have in the past.
And so the 200 or the 225,000 that you're recommending that we spend on whiteboards,
That's a
Clear
projection.
Touch, yeah.
right? Will that replace the remaining ones, or how close
I'll have
does
to
that?
get you that answer. I did not.
Okay, so we've just kind of pegged that as a
Yeah.
ballpark
Yeah,
number?
Right.
Okay.
I would, I think, I don't know why we're putting all of our school choice money into technology. I mean, that's almost every single penny we have goes into technology, and for the last 2 years, the majority of our school
Right,
choice money has
yes.
gone into technology.
Right, it is.
I don't see anything on here about office furniture or any kind of teacher improvement at all.
No?
I'm also very frustrated in the fact that me personally or the rest of the board couldn't get a heads up before we spent $45,000 on something. It's already paid, clearly, as you said, the Hub Tech projection system is already purchased, and this is the first time that we're hearing it after the bill is already due. I don't know why we continue to do that. And the Clear Touch thing, my only concern about the Clear Touch is, I think me personally, we're swinging the pendulum a little bit too far to the right, and I'll be more than happy to be proved wrong, but I'm sure we have whiteboards out there that still work adequately, and maybe I'm completely wrong. I've seen them, and I don't know why we would, summarily replace them until they actually physically break. And I'm interested, again, I don't mean to, again, the horse is dead underneath me, and I don't want to keep beating it, but I never heard during our 5-year capital plan with Mr. Maroney, so when we replace this Clear Touch, that you no longer have the ability to, everything's in the cloud, right? So there's no DVDs. I mean, you can use a USB stick, I guess. Yeah, but you can't play, I know that rumor was we're getting rid of Project Life, but you can't even play a Project Life DVD on the Clear Touch screens. So what's the plan for the district support for that cloud architecture? Are all these things that the teachers have been using have been accumulating for 15 years? Where is the availability for that on the cloud for them to use on a Clear Touch screen? And that's maybe I'm getting in the weeds, and I apologize, and I don't want to. That's the kind of thing that I think buying something is one thing, the implementation of that new technology is something I think that we've been lacking in at least discussing it. I'm sure it's happening behind the scenes, but not discussing it. And that's my 2 cents. I guess probably more like 12 cents.
Well, one thing I will kind of piggyback off the Clear Touch thing with is I'm just kind of curious if we can get an answer from Sean about what's happening with the smart boards, the ones that were taken down.
The what?
The ones that we're replacing, the smart boards, what's happening with them? Are they selling them? What's going on? I hope they're not just getting thrown away, but.
And I thought Patty said that they were giving us, were they not giving us like a discount for trade-in or something like that?
Is that what's happening?
Am I missing that?
I'm not sure, I don't
Okay.
remember saying that. I know I've seen some
I
that
did
been
not say
taken
that.
down.
Yeah.
I will check with Mr. Burrow.
Yeah, I'm certain they're not getting thrown away because I know Sean is,
Yeah.
a little more savvy than that, but I'm just, to make a point, it would be nice to know, are we getting a return on them? What's going on with that?
Because even the Eno boards have projectors on them, right?
The board projection was up above.
Right, but the Enos and the smart boards still all have projectors, right? I mean,
Yeah, there should be
Yeah.
projectors in there.
so.
Mhm.
Getting back to Jeff's point about furniture, can we buy that under school choice?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty vague. They don't want you to build an addition on a school. That they would frown on, but no furniture. I know the only furniture request that I've had so far is the furniture in this library, which I'm going to address, and I'll bring figures to you on whether you want to use choice money to replace it. And I'll show you when we get into just briefly tonight, I want you to take that FY19 budget home and, kind of scrutinize it, but I'll give some quick explanations, and when we get to that, there will be money there. We have used the technology in the past, basically the infrastructure. I know Sean came and presented. That was the goal, rather than go down to the town and ask them for the funds to replace the technology.
I'm not a Luddite. That's not what I'm trying to
No,
get at.
no,
I just
no,
think
no.
in the last 3 years,
Yeah,
probably in
I
the
agree with you.
80th or 90% of
Oh,
school
yeah.
choice has gone
Yeah.
towards technology. And
Absolutely.
I find it hard to believe that there's not other things that we need to purchase.
Oh, I'm
You
sure
know.
there are. But,
And, it's,
I-
I hear your thing that I haven't had a request for furniture, but, we had
No,
a
I-
discussion around the table. Everybody had head nods
Yeah.
that we needed furniture in the building. So, I'm not sure why an individual needs to request it. We could just create a plan at this level if we wanted to, could
I
we
mean,
not?
we could start, we could basically say it's part of the FY19 funds and purchase it now.
I see what you're saying.
We can.
Well, I'm not trying to make a decision.
No,
I
no,
was
no.
just using one example of something that I
Yeah.
thought was,
And that gets fed to us through the principals.
Yeah.
In terms of what they-
I know there was a request for some chairs, and I had a discussion with that particular principal, and then he decided to hold up at the present time. I
So-
mean, it's his building.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to start telling principals how to run their building. That's not
No,
my
that's
job.
not, but, I mean, I would like to have, if we could, with the chairman's permission, spend 2 minutes discussing, what the expectation is from the leadership. When we have a discussion around the table, and although we didn't vote on it, and I guess we can vote on everything if that's a requirement, but, we all looked at each other at the end of last year and said that it was very important that we start discussing getting furniture for the district. Everybody had nodded, did they not? I mean, I thought that was pretty good
I think
support on
it's
that.
definitely something that needs to look into. I
Right.
don't really feel
Yes.
that it starts at this level. It starts.
No, I get that
Feeds up.
point, but I mean,
So-
if we had the discussion, do we still need to wait for someone to ask for the furniture? I mean, I think that seems inefficient.
But I don't think that's not what I heard Mr. Funk saying.
Yeah.
I think it means that the principals make the decisions about what they need in their building.
Mhm.
So if a teacher needs something, then that teacher goes to the principal. And then if the principal feels like, yep, that's necessary to run my building and for kids to access the curriculum and to do all those things that we're here to do, then the principal would bring it, well, I don't know. I hope not to me, but maybe to these guys.
Well-
But the point is, there's a chain of command that.
I'm very
No, no,
comfortable
I'm
with
sorry,
that
I'm not
concept of
trying-
chain of command.
It doesn't come to
If
me.
everyone sitting around this table can walk around the school district and tell me that the furniture on here is adequate, and that all of the teachers have adequate desks and storage and desks for all of their students, then I will never bring this up again. But that's not the answer.
Jeff,
So-
if I may though, I think the question is, if you ask the teacher whether they want a new desk versus getting rid of the crappy laptop that they've had for a decade,
Mhm.
I think they would take the thing that helps them teach. But we're not talking to teach, I mean, we have to go by what the principals are telling
Mhm.
us. So I think in this case, I mean, I feel like you said that we're not buying anything for teachers. I think replacing this.
I didn't say that. I said we're buying all technology.
But you said this isn't directly for teachers, I wrote it down. So I think.
I did not say anything about ClearTouch not being directly for teachers. I said there's no implementation for how the teachers are going to use their stuff in the cloud. I never said anything about that not being for teachers.
Well, I think okay, well then
Yeah.
I'll check when I watch the video. But in any case, I think this is something that is useful in the classroom. It's not furniture. I do think we should have a conversation. I'm curious because, in the government, we do tend to purchase technology with certain fluid pots of money because it's the easiest thing to purchase, using that type of money. I don't know if that's the case here, but I just assumed this decision preceded me in terms of how to spend down choice funds, and it doesn't sound like it did.
No, honestly, I think I'm jumping the cart in front of the horse too, because we haven't had it. This is part of our discussion for how we're going
Yeah,
to do this stuff.
it might have began before you
Yeah.
joined the committee, but it never really formulated anything. It never really
It's something that we did.
solidified and went anywhere, so.
So,
So I am, if I may just defend myself, I understand that all of this stuff directly, except for the hub tech projection system, is district-wide improvement of Microsoft licensing, of course, and PCG. Is that the data? The data thing? And the ClearTouches are an amazing piece of technology. I don't discount them. And every teacher that I've seen actually get one and able to use it loves it, and it works great. It'd just be nice if before we continue to spend a really huge chunk of change on them, maybe it's just me. And I always defer to the Democratic. I'll shut up about the implementation of technology because it's a sore point for me.
So I think the point that I'm hearing, which is a consistent point that we've talked about in the past, is being informed in advance of things happening where at all possible, and particularly in regard to use of school choice funds. I don't, the fact that you're saying, 225,000 has been earmarked for this particular thing. Now that's starting to have a discussion versus coming in and saying, well, we spent 45,000 on a projection system, and I'm not, maybe I was aware, maybe I wasn't, but I don't recall what that is, and if you would like to enlighten me, I would appreciate it.
I'm not sure what it is. No.
Okay,
It's
So-
something that's being replaced at the high school.
okay. So, do you know what it is?
In the booth?
It's a replacement of
I don't
something
think
that
it's
already
the
exists? Okay, so it's not new.
Well, so if you could
Pretty
follow
new
up
price
and
tag.
let the committee know.
That's true.
But the fact that we're all sitting here and no one knows exactly what this is problematic to me. So I think, unless anyone disagrees, I think the committee would like to know if there's going to be a major purchase out of school choice funds in advance. And we have, at least one, if not two meetings a month, unless it's an emergency, which most of this stuff is not an emergency, we know well in advance. Not so that at least the committee can be informed of what the plans are and understand how it's being used. Is that a fair
Oh, absolutely.
representation of the committee?
That-
What
you
what
put it much
constitutes a
better.
major purchase?
Yeah.
In my mind?
Yeah, well, I think we should say, if we're going to say that that's our guidance, we need to define what that is. Is it $5,000? Is it 10? Is it 20? Is
I-
it 40?
I would assume that's something we're going to discuss during the budget goal, well, I forget what we called it, the development of the,
For the budget? Well, we
Well,
can,
the
School goals?
the budget protocols.
But-
Because we haven't discussed the goals yet, but there was an action item in there to just specifically about school choice funds.
so we will set an amount in that discussion then related to this. But, it should not be onerous if you're buying a copier or a printer or something. In my mind, it should be, maybe it's the 5,000. I'll leave it to the committee to decide, but we'll make a decision in regard to.
Well, just so everybody
What
knows,
that
I've
is.
never brought up an issue with any school choice purchase that was under $45,000. The two ones that come to mind are this one and the laser engraver, and the associated ventilation, which I believe exceeded 50 grand.
Okay.
So,
And once again, it's just communication.
so yeah, and I'm not putting that as a figure. I mean,
Yeah.
I know there's some requirements for, there's some numbers that you have to, well, we can discuss it. I mean, I don't know what the number is.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
To do that?
Yes.
Okay, it's weird.
We're
'cause
pretty informal
I'm
here.
I'm a townsperson as well, so I have questions on all levels, but is it, I'm just wondering at this point, I don't know if that's within the purview of the committee to have that level of oversight?
Yeah, that's
And
what
since
I'm
it's a, say again, George? I'm sorry.
I'm wondering
Oh,
that too.
since it's a goal that is potentially going to be part of your plan, I'm wondering if it could wait. You can make the decision after you find out if you're even allowed to make that demand or request of the school. So I guess I'm a little concerned about moving so quickly when it's something that I heard all of you talk about wanting to work on in terms of getting a sense of what the protocol would be.
Where's all this purview discussion coming from? I don't get this. This is like
What
the
is
sixth
the-
time I've heard it.
Yeah, because it's like, what's the function of a school committee, right? What do you oversee?
How can
Right?
there be a purview of the school administration that's not the purview of the school committee?
Because the purview of the school committee,
When
according
it
to
comes
Mass
to,
General
when it
Law.
comes to budgets.
I don't have to, I don't have to talk, we don't have to talk about this now. I can
Yeah,
go into-
let's,
But it's budget, evaluation of the superintendent, and policy. Those are the three.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm saying, is just making sure that we're not putting ourselves in a position where we're not complying with Mass General Law. And that makes me a little nervous to make a decision before you have done the research. So that's all. I'm just putting that out there.
yeah. So we'll come back to that.
Right, and I know the superintendent wants me to go out tomorrow, and I'll ask the principals about the furniture, and I will prepare what they want for furniture.
No, that's not what I'm asking. I was just using that as examples
Oh.
of other things that can be deviated away from technology. I am not pushing anything down the throats
No,
of the
no,
training
no,
committee.
I would ask
Nope,
them.
not at all. We've discussed it around the table twice now. If it's not a priority, it's not a priority. It was a priority for me, and I'm one person out of this whole table, and I'm fine with that.
And if
I
I say
don't mind
so,
asking the principals
Yeah.
if that's
That's
a
not me,
priority.
that's
No,
not
no,
my
I'm
decision.
not-
Yeah, that's not my decision.
if I could
Go
say
ahead,
something
Chris.
real quick, one recommendation I get, because I do actually agree with you on,
Yeah.
as much as I agree that technology is an extremely important piece, and you'll never hear me say otherwise because of who I am. There are other things, so I think as far as the administration goes, because I do agree, the administration should handle the bulk of things, but we'll talk more about that later or some other time. But as far as furniture, I think from a bigger perspective, not just furniture, I don't want to speak for you, but when it comes to teaching and learning, we know environment is a big piece of that. It's not just the tools, it's the environment. So if the furniture's really old, the seats are uncomfortable, the paint's falling off the wall. I mean, we're doing a big window project. That's an environment. Keeping the temperature correct, keeping the sunlight in, things like that. So I think we need to look a little more at that aspect of it rather than only the tools, especially when we have tools already, we're just making them better. That we kind of need to look at the entire teaching and learning environment rather than just that one aspect. So I think, I don't want to speak for you, but that's where I would take
No,
that.
I'm with you. I agree.
And I'll just wrap it up saying, transparency and open communication is one of the things that this committee wants to be able to have on an ongoing basis. And so all I think I'm asking here is to communicate to us so that people are aware of what's going on. All right?
Very good.
Any other questions
Yeah, I just
for
have one
Paul?
question. So, just so I understand, when you put the budget you put the budget together this year and the following year, so you're seeing all the requests that are coming in from the schools.
Right.
And I know that there are some things that we can't get them. And so, and sometimes you have to reduce those requests. And so do you use, in other words, what you can't fund within our budget, do you look at that as opportunities for school choice? Like, where do you come up with this list, I guess, is my question.
Well, part of it was the reduction in the budget last year, when they told us that we had to reduce the preschool transportation. We zeroed out the technology, all the line items for technology. So that we use choice money to fund the technology and a couple of other things.
So that's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
So the reason these are on this list is because when we had to reduce the budget last year, these were the things that got cut.
Well, not necessarily all of these. What was in the budget for technology was basically to repair stuff. So, and that's what you're going to see in the 2019 budget, the FY19 budget, is what I put aside for technology will keep the stuff up and running. That's about it. We're not going to be buying all kinds of stuff. Now, at the discretion of the school committee, it's very minimal what I'm giving the technology person. If you decide we're going to do furniture, there's going to be money there to do furniture. I'm just using that as an example.
No, it's a good example, yeah.
But we can discuss, but it's basically just going to be repairs, not purchase. Anything purchased will again, come before this committee.
Yeah, I guess, I think as I'm kind of saying what you guys are saying, but in a slightly different way, is that it's a lot easier to look at these expenditures understanding where they came from.
Right.
If they were priorities that we knew we had, that we haven't been able to meet with our existing budget, then there's probably a checklist, where we go, okay, next we're doing Clear Touch, and next we're doing this, and
Right, right.
that would make sense as someone
Right,
sitting at this
and
table.
I've kind of left that open.
I see.
When we get into the FY, I kind of left that open. And when I get to that, I'll just give you a brief explanation tonight. But, the principals come with their budgets, their operating budgets. And they make their requests. And I have never refused a principal any request. Now, they have come to me with furniture requests, first time this year. One for library furniture here, and one at the high school for teacher chairs. And I had it all set to go, presented, that we were going to purchase these. Some of it was coming from his budget, some of it was, I would have to take out a choice. Wasn't a big expense, it was basically teachers' chairs. But, you know, I haven't been out of the office. I apologize for that. We plan to take a tour of the buildings tomorrow. The superintendent's going to give me some of her time. We'll determine what they want. I did kind of put one principal on hold. He wanted high-top tables, and I just didn't feel it was appropriate. But this committee may feel it's appropriate. That's fine.
So what are we saying about these remaining expenditures that haven't occurred yet?
I can present, I can tell you, let's wait.
Are we holding on
Let's
those?
let's hold on the clear touches. The licensing has already gone, the PG, and the system. We'll hold on the whiteboards until we find out how many rooms, that was a question that came up earlier tonight. Let's find out how many rooms are left. You know, this might be all of it.
Is PCG, is this the first time we paid something? I know we've talked about this
Oh, no,
last
no,
year.
no.
Is this an
It's the
annual
second-
reoccurring
This will be an annual amount.
56,000?
Yeah, it's a 3-year deal.
Oh, okay.
So this is the second of the 3 years.
All right, I think I'm good now. I just wasn't clear where we were leaving that, or where these came from.
No, you know, I like to see I just haven't had a chance to see what's going on up there. So, and I think when we get into the FY.
Okay, you had a budget transfer, Paul?
Oh, yes.
One other thing while we're on this subject,
Oh, sure.
it
Yeah.
kind of ties in, but it also could tie into 19 and FY '20. I had a discussion with Paul the other day about the possibility of the school committee considering forming a subcommittee, a finance subcommittee, to work with Paul in the development of all future budgets. It's getting earlier and earlier that we have to start doing this. Paul indicated next year is going to have to start in January, really, to start getting things underway. And I'm just throwing it out there as a discussion for another meeting, but I think really a finance subcommittee where 2 members of the committee go through the budget as it's being developed, and then be able to present to the other members of the committee. I also checked school committee regulation, DESI, or whatever we call this place, that there could be an open meeting, and the members of the committee that are not on the finance committee can actually attend the meeting. They can't participate in it, but they can listen to the discussions. That's legal. So I'm just throwing that out there, Mr. Chairman, as maybe an item for the next agenda.
Okay. I
I
got
don't know
it.
how other people feel about it.
Well, can I just add on to that? My game plan for the FY '20 budget, which will be like 3 years out, because I have to have this done by the end of September, is I've already started the FY '20 budget. And some of it has to be projections because we'll be negotiating with some of the unions. And, but, you know, we can start. And what I plan to do is, you're going to vote on a budget in January, which will be the budget, the FY '19 budget. When the night you vote on that, I will give you a preliminary FY '20 budget. And, you know, it's preliminary, Chris, so that that gives you.
Nothing
like,
against you, Paul, because I know you're not the one that set that deadline.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it will give you six months to kind of look at things. And, you know, so that we're not jammed at the end trying to put a budget together to meet the needs of the Mashpee Public Schools. And I think that's another approach, George. I mean, you
Okay.
can do it either way.
Mhm.
But at least everyone will have a chance to kind of input what they want to see in that FY '20 budget.
I think if we, when we talk about the school committee goals later, you know,
That
you
could be
remember.
another, yeah.
Yeah.
So you remember
Mhm.
one of them was specific to an out-year budget, and I think a reasonable approach is sort of us splitting up and tackling some of these action items. So whether it's an official subcommittee or not, there's clearly going to be 1 or 2 of us working on budget with Paul and Patty, so. We'll have to fight over it.
All right. Any other questions questions or
Trust
comments in regard to the FY19
No, I'm
budget? Okay, let's do your transfers, Paul.
Okay, I have two transfers from the high school instructional software, 5,200, going to high school textbooks, 5,200, and athletic transportation, 2,002, to athletic insurance. The athletic transportation, we've been fortunate, now the collaborative has taken over a lot of the transportation, which is saving us quite a bit of money. And the insurance increase for two reasons. Actually, insurances go up, but this is a better policy. And, you know, with the concussions and so forth, as I said to the athletic director, I know it's more money, but it's also, you want to make sure you get the best policy, if someone does get hurt. So I request a transfer.
Move to accept transfer 1801.
Have a second?
Second?
Have a motion by George and a second by Chris to approve transfer 1801. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, Nicole?
Yes.
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 And yes, approved unanimously. All right.
I guess the next one is the update on the FY19 budget. On the FY19 budget, you can see that there is a total of 2.97 in the budget. The 80% of it is, 81% of it is salaries, and you'll see that there is a little chart. Basically, the rest of it is kind of a small amount, 20% basically covers sped costs, transportation costs, professional development, athletics, and so forth. I also included in your packet the choice. There's only one offset, and that was the to the technology.
You talking about this one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the technology, can I borrow this?
Yeah.
Was that offset based on a percentage that you're trying to keep to, or?
Well, as I said, it's basically repairs. Oh, yeah, thank you. It's basically repairs. It's just an estimate.
I mean, but what drove you to say, I need to save this $165,000?
Out of the budget?
Yeah.
As an offset? My feeling was that if I didn't take this $165,000, you're talking getting, sending a budget down to the town hall, 4.16. I would like to build some of this back, and in FY '20, I hope to build some of it back into the budget. But I just feel, you know, I'm trying to present a budget that the Finance Committee and the Selectmen are going to look responsible on.
What percentage is $165,000 though?
It would get it up to about 4.16, believe it or not.
With that 165?
Yeah.
From what right now?
It's at almost 3%. It's 3%.
2.97.
$165,000 is a full percentage?
I'm sorry, no, I wouldn't get it up that high.
Yeah.
I'd have to get to that figure.
It's-
I did have that-
it's gonna be like
I'll honest with-
2.99%
I'll be honest
or
with you, I had that at 250,
Yeah.
and I brought it back
Yeah.
down, saying that I only want to use those funds to keep the repairs. At 250, that would bring you up to 4.16.
And Paul, the PCG, you said this is year 2 of 3.
That's correct.
So after FY19, is there going to be another payment in FY20?
Well, that'll have to be negotiated. And that'll
But
have
this
to
is
be-
an ongoing
Yeah,
service,
keep
right?
going. Yeah, that's gonna,
I mean, me personally, and we've discussed this, I think, with, and I'm not going to talk for Nicole, but I know she's mentioned specifically about trying to change the kind of our philosophy about how we're doing budgets and actually present the budget to the town that we want, not what we're
Right.
told to give.
Right.
And I think we should start without any offset. This is our budget, this is what we need to, level service, that's just me, level service, this is what we need, and then if they come back, then we start identifying offsets that we could remove from school choice.
Well, we can do that in the 20. This is already.
Because I don't want to, again, we're going to start that precedent that we're going to offset our budget every year based on school choice, and if school choice goes away in 2021 because there's 5 different people sitting behind here, then we have
Right,
who knows where we're at,
right,
So.
right. But you have to also understand, they're looking at that $500,000 that you're sitting on, and if I.
Not
get
if it's
on there-
encumbered and we present them at the floor, it's not there anymore.
Okay.
I mean,
I can't do it.
put some of the
I understand.
responsibility, this is not a power play, right, about who's going to take control of the money. This is giving us enough information to take responsibility for fighting for the district
Not
at
a
the
problem.
town level.
Not a problem.
Because it shouldn't be all on you and Patty's shoulders. This is what we got elected for,
Right.
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 And honestly, in the last 3 years, I don't think I've ever fought for a budget, and I don't think that's not how it should be. I don't mean we
Last year,
shouldn't fought, but you know what I mean.
I got .14 last year.
I know.
Yep,
Yeah.
with 2.
Unfortunately, I was
with
here.
2 Yeah, with 2. That's a good one. 2%, with a 2%.
At that meeting, anyway.
Yeah, 2% increase.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the other problem with the offsets is we talked the other day, I mean, because I was asking on these budget sheets, the number between, and Paul pointed out to me that the FY17 number was what we expended.
Mhm.
So we always give money back.
Yeah.
Because we can't spend it. And if we're giving back $200,000 at the end of the year and we're offsetting 200, we're losing money
Right.
for the school by
Absolutely.
not putting that
Absolutely.
165 in the budget at the outset. And we can remind them, hey, remember, we give you a bunch of money back at the end of the year because simply the way the books are handled, we can't spend it all.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we need our
Well-
school choice funds, if we get into a bind and
Right.
have
But
to.
we can spend it all. We can spend it all.
We can
But
spend
it's
it all,
not, in 1993, when they did school reform, the principals run their own buildings. And I can't even tell them how to spend the money. They come to me and say, this is the way I want to spend my money. But you have to understand, if they don't spend it down, I can't treat them like little children and say, hey, call them up every day. So I did see some things this past year that I think I can remedy this year and get it down very, very close to where it's 0. And you're absolutely right. I do have, I'm in a good position that I do have that choice money to fall back on if I came up short. In other words, that we overspent budget. Where a lot of districts don't have that because they don't have a choice. And you got to, as a gentleman once said to me, if you can turn back to the town less than 1% or 1% or less, you've done your job.
Well, I guess I'm always concerned when we're using school choice funds to pay operating costs.
Right.
Right?
I understand that, but you could get caught near the end of the year, something goes, or you need something. It wouldn't be a major item. It wouldn't be like $500,000 or
Yeah.
$200,000. It'd be a minuscule amount.
I think that's a different story, though, than what
Yeah.
we're talking about now. We're starting by already giving
Right, I understand that.
165.
I
Yeah,
got
yeah,
that,
yeah.
I got that.
So,
And I tried to come up with basically the minimum.
Just keep, but this should be secret. I mean, it should.
I
I mean, this should
understand.
be in your,
Absolutely,
no, I mean, this should be, and you have a list of things, and
Absolutely.
this is the stuff that I think I can use to offset, utilizing maybe choice money.
Right.
If absolutely 100% necessary.
Right.
If something hits the fan,
Right.
the proverbial
Right.
fan,
Right.
so.
So, we can build our budgets that way. You'll see, there'll be a large increase, but then, we might get more than if I tried to present a budget right up front. That's acceptable.
Mhm.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
no, that's exactly what we've been saying. I think that we support that 100%.
Yeah.
Ask for what we actually need,
Right,
and then start there, as opposed to saying, this is the minimum we can live on,
right,
and start there, because you're not going to go up.
right,
Yeah.
right. They're not gonna go up
Yeah,
if
well,
anything happens.
So
I wanted to try that last year, remember?
I know you did, I did argue against it, I said it was a silver bullet we didn't need to spend yet, but I mean, you know.
One of the things that, you know, and we're all on the same team, whether it's the town side
Oh,
or the
yeah.
school
Right,
side.
right, right.
And, you know, we've seen these projections, and that the town's gonna hit the wall is 2021. That's where
Mhm.
they may have to go for a operational override. So if we can somehow prevent that, you know, where we don't have to go for that override, because you've got tech school coming on board possibly, you've got water, sewerage, water treatment. So there are different things that the town manager is trying to deal with and trying to focus down the road. So that, you know, I'm just trying to be a team player here. I know.
No, you could be a team, I
but
support you, I
think
support you, but we still need to ask for what we need.
That's correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
and that's all, I think that's all we're asking.
Yeah, and in the 20, I think we should do that. And you may not get it, but at least like
Right,
you
yeah,
said.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a misnomer by not including this stuff as our real operating costs,
Mhm.
then people don't have a full appreciation
Right.
of what we're spending, because, you know, they go and approve the omnibus budget for the school, they see one big number. They have no idea what's included or what's excluded with that. I know Superintendent had a
I was just
comment.
going to say, I don't ever want to lose the historical piece of the .14 from last year, and that we met that by moving operating expenses over. And so it's almost like we need to put that, always keep that piece back. So
Mhm.
now we're getting, you know, going for 2.97 on what already was that cut budget, because we have this holding tank. So that's the piece we have to explain to, you know,
Mhm.
and not lose sight of.
I still want this to turn into the baggage fees, the airline baggage fees. Hey, we're only gonna have this for a couple of years, because gas prices are super high.
Yeah.
Still pay baggage fees, it's 2017, you know.
No, I just think we need, I'm sorry, go ahead, George.
I was just going to say, I'm getting the sense of the committee here is wanting to go forward when we present our budget to the town, that we want to go forward with what our real costs would be following the town manager's guidelines, which would be level services budget. A level services budget for us, I've had two figures from you, Paul, I'm not sure. I know 4.4 was the low one, and another one was 5.3.
But I can get back to you with those figures, what
But
it would be.
if we wish to take that route, going to the town, I would suggest that we follow what the town manager is looking for and add nothing else in except what it is going to cost to run the schools next year based upon a levels of service. Nothing else added in.
Of course.
Yeah, and we can say the improvements that we're making, which is a perfect example of the list of things that we're gonna encumber into the school choice funds, so they don't throw it in our face. Yeah, and the improvements that we're gonna do to the school to make this a better place and support some miraculous MCAS scores
Now
are the, you know, Clear Touch, because I'm not against them, and, you know, the PCG, the data collaboration software, all that kind of stuff. That shouldn't be us spending, saying that's the school district. And I'm not trying to spin anything. I'm saying it's not the school district spending money needlessly. It's us using these funds to improve the school, while the town supports us maintaining level service.
Now, continue on from that. If that is the sense of the committee of something that we would like to do, the budget is going to be presented to the town manager, to the finance committee, to the liaison, to the schools, the whole 9 yards, on October 24th.
Correct.
I'm sorry, I just coughed into that. That was October 24th?
October 24th. I am going to be far out of state, and Nicole is the alternate.
What country are you gonna be in?
When Nicole is asked, what is the sense of the committee that she should answer?
Oh, but this is my question. I keep hearing Paul say that the ship has sailed on 19.
No.
And I know we haven't presented it yet, but you said that this is all in.
That's it, it's in Munis right now.
It's
So
in
we
Munis
can't
as
change
the
anything?
school department budget. The school committee can vote something different.
Right.
That's what I think we should get clear this evening, as to what type of a message we should be presenting to the town when this comes up, if we are asked. And I think we're going to You're going to be asked how, unless nobody from the school committee shows up, that might be a better idea.
No, that would not be a
It's
good
not a good
idea.
idea.
I mean,
That's not a good idea.
I don't have enough information, because I didn't have a discussion with you about this, the 4.4 number. But I do think that we should remove the offsets. But,
I think it's a good
Yeah.
idea.
you know, to start from there, because I mean, it's really going to make it like
I got something.
2.99 if you,
Yeah.
maybe even not, maybe it's 2.98%.
What's that? If we
Adding
remove these-
$165,000.
Oh, the 165.
Yeah.
Leave the 123, do the 165.
But
I know what he's.
Yeah, I'm just talking about the offsets, yeah. 'Cause I
Yeah.
mean, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I guess technically they're all offsets, really, but,
They are.
Right.
but,
Okay,
But we go from 2.97 or 2.99,
Let's call it 3.0, that's what's.
3.0, it's a lot
Yeah.
easier, okay, to our real need, which is 4.4%, or is it 5
It'd be
point?
less than that.
Well,
can't go
what
up.
is it now?
Well, I'd have to put this 165 back into the mix.
Okay, when I asked you the question earlier, maybe I misunderstood you. I said, if we did this with a level service increase, what would be the just following the level service guidelines, what would be the percentage increase we would have to ask from
At
the
the
town?
time, I had the 165 at 250, it would be 4.16.
4.16.
165, we can get away with, just servicing,
Mm.
keeping everything, all the lights working, but not replacing anything. So if we increase that to $250,000, it'd be 4.16.
4.16% increase.
And is that an increase off of last year's with the added offsets?
No.
I'm sorry?
Is it
If
an
you took
increase?
last year's approved
No,
by
it's
the
just
town.
whatever,
Right,
it's
so
what the town gave us.
that's a false sort of,
That's
Yeah,
a
it's
false
not-
bottom.
Yeah,
And
it's
absolutely.
really, it's only an increase of a couple percentage points.
Correct.
and the-
Because, now, and the math doesn't follow here for me. We had negotiated a contract with the teachers, and that's 2.5%.
No,
No, not two.
two this year.
2.2%, okay.
No, two this year, then
Two.
2.25 next year.
Okay, 2% for this year.
correct.
We have 2 years' worth of step increases that we didn't get in last year's budget. That has to come to some sort of a number. That's a percentage.
If your point is that we can't even hold level service
Yeah,
with
you
the
can-
increases we have to cover in salaries, yes, that's
Yeah.
true.
You're absolutely
Yeah,
right.
and that's
Exactly.
why,
And
that's
that's
why
why
I don't
I
want to
don't-
go to the town
It's-
asking
it's-
for less than we need.
It's 3.3% just on the salaries.
It's 3, okay, fine,
Yeah.
Okay,
3.3% on the
3.3%, and it's on
salaries.
that first page. What we're doing here.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
Yeah, you
3.3%,
see right
yeah.
there. So it's 3.3%. So to get it down to like a
With
reasonable,
your bug, yeah.
that I'm hoping to get the 3%. I may not get that. But that's gonna push us further back in the bucket because.
The G2 I've got is that the town manager is apparently looking for 2.5. That's
What-
the
what-
G2.
In other words, if I don't get the the 3.0.
Right,
Let's
right.
call it the
Yeah,
3.0, and he comes in, now I only got .14. So what I wanted last year is like 2.1,
Yeah, right.
okay? So now I get .14. So I'm
You're
up
really only asking for like less than a percentage point of increase.
from 1 year, right.
Relative,
Yeah,
yeah.
Right.
relative compared,
Yeah,
yeah.
well, to bring me up this year.
Right,
Right, now, then, now the teachers got 3.3,
Mhm.
so to keep it close to 3%, the non-salary items we're taking.
Right, but that was the point, and that's why I
And
think
that's
what
why-
you're coming to where it's actually more than
Right.
4.4%, because you're reducing the non-salary
Right,
items to
Yes.
when all the-
eat
in other words,
the
the
other
3
third of
point,
it, yeah.
the 3.3, we gotta pay that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, we got it. No, yeah, we understand.
Now, what we're trying to do is we're trying to bring up the expense side of the budget to where it should be. Well, some of the things are out of district, you can't,
Yeah, yeah.
and you gotta, and also, not only that, I have to project that we're gonna have other kids going out. I have to do my best. So there may be a plus there may be a negative amount. Transportation, we're holding our own, at 5%, gonna start replacing buses next year, still only at 5%. We're gonna replace them over the next 3 or 4 years. So, we kind of look at that. The principles, again, I have to go back and say, as far as, the furniture and all that I have to look at, but As far as the
The library night being presentable, and
Yeah.
the furniture is gonna haunt me now.
No, no, I'm not gonna haunt you. It's a good
Every time he
example.
says
No, it's a good
furniture,
example.
it's
You
It's a
said
good
it wasn't
example.
comfortable.
Furniture,
No, right.
that's right, comfortable, yeah, sorry.
That's true.
What would-
Comfortable.
But with new
yes.
furniture, it'll be.
Something that we had like at the Indian meet, at the tribal headquarters,
Well, I
we had that
didn't-
meeting, that would be.
Our
nice.
eyes
Oh, you
have
missed
been
it.
open.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Squishy chair.
The comfortable chairs, and I could even adjust that
No,
I get up.
I know,
I get it, I get it, I just, you know,
So,
I get it too.
yeah.
So
I
I
know you
know
do.
where you people want to
so,
go.
so, just to clarify, so the consensus of the committee for the FY '19 budget would be the 21,489 plus then the items, the additional 288,000, or plus the 165. I personally don't understand and can't make a judgment call in regard to how much of the technology items are business as usual versus enhancements.
This is business as usual.
All of that is.
Yeah.
So it would be adding back the entire 288 as our operating costs.
Okay.
Does that, anyone disagree with that?
Well, so we added the 288, but then what about all these negatives we took out of expenses that he tried to work his magic here? What about all these cuts we made to high school, middle school, Quashnet, Coombs, system-wide, curriculum?
Those were presented by, believe it or not, those were presented by the principals.
Okay, so these stay in,
Yep.
and all we're gonna do is add.
They have an opportunity to present their budgets and what they need.
Oh, okay, so I misunderstood. This
Yeah.
wasn't you trying to offset the
No.
3.3 at the top or anything?
And yet, no, that wasn't me.
Okay.
I have all the backup here. So, but, you know, things like,
Bless you.
things like Renaissance Learning, which is a big number,
Mhm.
29,000. That particular, you know, that software that they use in all of the schools, not so much at the high school, middle school now. We've never included that in the budget.
But definitely, yeah, definitely PCG and Renaissance Learning are part of our practice, they're necessities. So they need to be, they really are part of the operating budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think you're right then, yeah.
288, yeah.
I mean, I think the point is that for FY19, I mean, we're gonna have, 1,700 kids in the district. They're never gonna be in these grades again. They're never gonna be in that grade again. We have to fight for every dollar now,
Yeah.
you know? So that when a kid's in 6th grade next year, he gets what he needs for 6th grade. We don't have to wait until FY20.
And that 280 brings up into the mid-threes, right? Like 3.5% or something like that.
So if we do that, it will take it to 1.04%,
Oh, 1.4? So,
adding back the 288.
Brings it to,
oh, like,
An
that's
additional
4 then.
1.14?
because we're at a 2.
I'm sorry. The-
1 point, that would make it 3 point.
It would be 4%, it would be a 4% increase. I'm sorry.
4%, yeah, 4% total.
I'm sorry.
4%.
Oh,
No, that was adding them together.
Yeah.
I was gonna say 1.03 sounds good.
Say again,
Yeah.
sir?
Well,
We are probably, the past 2 years when I've gone to those meetings, I've been asked, what is the sense of the school committee? And I can say at that point, I've been saying for 2 years that the school committee hasn't discussed the budget yet, period. We could get away with something like that, but I think going in with a surprise in January,
It won't be a surprise, though. You're presenting it next 2 weeks, or?
but he's presenting 2.97 because that's what's in there.
right, that's what's in the system right now. 3%.
So,
The school committee is going to come in at 4.1.
Right.
4.0.
4
4
point-
flat, yeah.
4 flat.
well, we could just, I mean, I think we should be upfront. We should say that
Okay, I
the school
agree with
committee
you.
discussed this at its October 18th
Yep.
meeting. We want to see the offsets. We've offset level service, we've offset
Last year we
level
offset,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
We-
And level
we reduced,
services.
and I'll get those reductions that we reduced last year.
And I mean, if
I
you could,
have them.
if you could write, 3 sentences for me, that is exactly what we
Yep.
said.
And punching home the .14, that we're already in the hole
Yeah.
before we
Right.
even start because of the .14 level funding.
Right.
So this is really a
Well,
very,
it's not even level, no.
but I mean, but it's a very
Yeah.
it really is a very minuscule budget increase based on the last 2 years,
Right.
you know?
Especially this year.
Right,
Well-
right.
Running out of magic.
I'm with you.
Right now.
And still be able to support those miraculous MCAS scores.
Well, and the other thing to keep in mind, if my math was right, that, the change from FY '17, so what we really spent for what we're projecting for FY '19 is 5.3%.
Yeah, yep.
Right.
5.3%.
Right,
yeah,
because we
somewhere in
only
that
get, we
area.
only got .14.
0.14. So, I
So-
mean, and then
so-
we asked for
Once
2.2.
you get up to the 4, and you add the .14, there isn't much. You might get
So,
a-
it looks big in 1 year, but it's really catching up.
And also a good question to ask is too, with the 100 grand that we returned, what is our budget increase for last year? I bet it was 0.
It was more than 100 that we returned.
Yeah, whatever the number was we returned, I mean, I bet it was 0.
58,000.
Yeah, 0, we had no budget increase last year, so I mean, this is, spread 4% over 2 years, that's
We
nothing.
actually got cut. We actually returned money. No, I mean, our budget increase amounted to like $39,000 or something.
Yeah, yeah.
It was ridiculous.
And we gave back 100, some, I mean, those are just little things that I
Yeah,
think would be
yeah.
really good ammo in Nicole's quiver for, throwing out there, because this isn't something that we're just,
But I do think that if we are going this route, which I think is the right route to take, is that we make sure that when the school committee comes up with its budget, that we follow what the guidelines are, and that is strictly level service.
Yeah.
Nothing else in there, no other bells and whistles. We're just asking for a level service increase, like every other department in the town is getting.
are we doing something different than that right now?
No, yes, we are. We're, a level service would be what did you just figure out, 5 point
Yeah,
something?
we're doing less than that.
We're doing
We're doing
way
less
less
than
than that, we're
that.
doing 2.97.
Because we're offsetting it with the
We're
choice
offsetting
money.
it with choice money.
If we put the choice money back in, it's
Yeah,
gonna
your
come over
point is
4%.
that with those on the table, that is a level service budget. You're just saying to us, make sure there's nothing else, no window dressing in that budget.
Anything else
No.
that we come up with in the budget, that there's nothing else in there other than what we have been asked to provide, which is level service.
Well, that's great. All we got to do is just put that back
We'll
in.
just put that in. I'll give you a cover page.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay.
I can do that. After I tour the schools.
Except for, I mean, the only thing I can think that somebody may point out that's fluff, and this is not a hit on anybody, is Camp Falcon.
Is what?
Camp Falcon.
Camp Falcon, yeah.
But I mean,
Well, that's one that I wasn't going to bring up, but I don't think that should be coming out of choice funds. That's an operating expense for the school. We have over 100 kids that are going, to me, it was like a pilot program that
Yeah.
we funded out of choice
Yeah.
money to see, it was like a new service we were trying to provide. I think you probably have to make the case that it's worth doing, but it should be.
okay, hey,
Yeah, I know, right? with-
cool, I
Yeah.
support it.
Because
Good
this
with
is
that.
year 3, this would be.
This would be year 3.
The third
So-
year of it.
So move it into as a normal program provided by the school as opposed to
Yeah,
some.
I think
Yeah.
sometimes choice is a great place to start pilots. Years ago, when we started with bus monitors, it originally came out of choice, and then it got shifted over because it became something
Yeah,
that
okay.
was part of
All right,
what
perfect, yeah.
we wanted to do.
I know right where to put it.
Yeah, perfect, yeah, perfect.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure it's not going to be a surprise once Steve writes his article, right?
Well, I don't think any of this should be a surprise, or,
No,
you know,
it's
it should be, I mean, it's.
They're watching us on TV.
I mean,
Yeah, no,
there's
it's
1,000
not.
people out here in the audience right now. Millions at home on this live broadcast.
We can play it up, you don't have to act like there's not a lot.
Oh,
They never see that side.
Hi,
oh,
folks.
that's true, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. I'm not a good actor.
Or hi, folk.
We'll start
Yeah,
to
not
get
a-
the,
No, folks.
Well, folks, that's right, sorry. True.
All right. Any other questions on the FY '19
Sounds like it's digressing.
budget?
quickly,
No?
No, I'm
yeah. No,
done.
good
Thank you.
discussion. Thank you for your
Yeah.
patience, Paul.
All right.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you. All right. Next item, now that we're officially behind schedule again.
What time is this? 7:20.
I'm sorry?
I'll be quick.
I said I had something.
I'll turn it over to the superintendent.
7:20?
Yes. So,
That was me, so I can-
I just want to share out about the conference that we were very happy to be able to go to last week in Milwaukee. It's an RTI Innovations Conference, and able to attend was Hope Hanscom, Jamie Curley, Mary Kate O'Brien, Paula Bell, and myself. Also attending were Mark Balistracci and Lindsay Kett. However, they were presenters, so a slightly different take on that. But this conference is considered to be a premier national conference on RTI, which is response to intervention, but we refer to MTSS. There are no vendors, so it's a vendor-free conference, which is really a nice focus. Skills-focused conference, they always sort of have their tagline, it's for doers, by doers, which is exactly what it is. It's a great opportunity to disseminate effective practices, and their philosophy is that most can be learned directly from persons who are already doing it, from not only their mistakes and their successes, so what works and what doesn't work. One of the keynotes on Thursday was Dr. George Batch, who is one of the consultants who's worked with us for 2 years. That is ending in December. And he was all about the problem-solving process and the protocols which we have in place. Some of his important messages were students improve when they're exposed to high-quality, powerful, and integrated instruction, and that student growth is most highly related to academic engaged time, which we are continually working on when we go in classrooms. What kind of quality work is happening, and are we using every minute? One of the things I took away is the reference to general education. He really feels we should be using universal education as the term for Tier 1, which is most all the classrooms, what everyone is exposed to, and that the term intervention is not a great term. It implies that we're fixing something when really it's an intensified instruction. So those kind of mindsets we're going to start to shift in this district. He emphasizes ensuring that instruction is delivered in all tiers, that it's standards aligned, that what happens in a Tier 3 is connected to what's happening in a Tier 1. So he was one of the keynotes. The other keynote that was the closer on the second day, Dr. Kevin Feldman, his message was ensuring our schools become a no-chill zone. Robust, literate student engagement in every classroom, every lesson, every day. So nobody gets to go in there and coast. Everybody is actively engaged. And in his keynote, which was very nice, he had sat in on the day before on Principal Balistracci and Lindsay Kett's presentation. And so on his keynote the next day, he had a couple of shout-outs for Principal Balistracci, including adding a slide into his presentation that had a picture of Principal Balistracci and a quote. He is a rock star. The quote was what Mark had said, was not simply compliant behavior, but robust, engaged learning, and that is our goal. So he had a lot of great strategies that he shared with everybody that was in the audience. He talked about the 20/80 dilemma, which has been talked about for quite a few years, and lots of research that 20% of students in classrooms are really doing 80% of the work because there's a chill zone for the rest of the people. And they know who those, students know who the ones who are going to carry the rest. So we need to break down that sort of pattern. He says double down on evidence-based instructional practices to get to the destination. He keyed a lot of his comments and very well dovetailed to Anita Archer's work, where she came to our district, and he cited her work and her book, so we're, it's all connected. One of the things he said was never more than 2 to 10 minutes should go by in a classroom without every single student either saying, writing, and or doing something that's directly tied to the learning target of the lesson. So that, that takes a lot of little shifting for some classrooms from what we've seen. We always tell teachers that, teachers haven't taught unless it's been learned, because teachers will often say, well, I taught that, but it's not quite the same unless we check for learning. So eliminating hand raising, he had a lot of easy things to incorporate into classrooms, very low level of lifting. There was a workshop on universal design for learning where we got a lot of tools about how to sort of improve. It's all very student-centered and how we can make the learning opportunities we provide tailored. It's not a super burden, it's just a shift for how teachers plan their lessons. But in universal design for learning, it provides flexibilities in the way that information is presented, in the way students respond and are able to demonstrate the knowledge and skills, and in the ways they're engaged. So there were quite a few tools that we're taking from that presenter. In that class, in that workshop, it also talked about that it's all about how the individual interacts in the environment that improves the learning, and that we create what appears to be disabilities in some kids because of our inflexible environment. And that is absolutely true. We have always been working with all of the 2 years so far with MTSS. For me, the original phone call I had with the 2 consultants was, how can we get everybody who's a tier 1 educator to really improve their skill set? And if we did, then we wouldn't have, in most cases, a lot of needs for tier 2. We will always have a few that need a little extra intensive instruction, but that's where the game is. It's in that tier 1 instruction that we need to improve. So there were various sessions on both days. We tended to split up. Sometimes we tended to randomly. We chose our similar focus areas. But we're very grateful that the district provided us the opportunity to partake in this conference, and it's a very meaningful. So the next step immediately would be that next Wednesday we have our second Compass meeting this year, and although we were going to focus on something slightly different, we really feel it's important to roll out some of our learning so that we can, through the Compass people, and then even further get some of those quick shifts into the hands of the teachers.
So I had asked the superintendent about the possibility of having Principal Belstracci do a abbreviated presentation.
This was 90 minutes.
Versus the full 90-minute, if the committee would be interested in having him come do that at a subsequent meeting.
What I could say, and slightly related to that, is on December 13th, which is a Tuesday or Wednesday, we're doing our closeout of our work, 2 years' work with our grant. And so we're doing a share out, and it's going to be at the auditorium, and various other districts are being invited, and you will also be invited. But part of that is sort of my recap, and then our consultants are sharing, but then our team is really sharing, and that's when you get a good feel for what Mark had done in Milwaukee. So we'll make sure that you get that on your calendar. It would be a great event to come to. But yes, he can come and do an abbreviated version. He does have a PowerPoint, but it doesn't do justice at all to the message.
And Mrs.
Lindsay
Kett
had-
is a very big part of this as
Yes.
well.
I'm sorry, yeah.
I mean, she did a phenomenal job as well.
Because it's hard for a lot of districts. Well, a lot of districts are huge, like 180,000 students and so many principals. They're all county-based in most states. So trying to do MTSS on a secondary level is a challenge. So they were very popular workshops to go to because you have sort of Mark's piece and then Lindsay with the scheduling and all of those, the infrastructure and the systems pieces that have to be in place really to make some headway. So they do make a pretty good team with that.
All right, so is the committee interested in having Mark and Lindsay at some point come in?
Well, it sounded like we can see them on
See
December
them on the
13th.
13th or 14th, or whatever it is.
Yeah, I think it's the 13th, it's a Wednesday, it's in the morning.
Okay.
I think that would be, the best way to get the full picture,
Mhm.
and
Okay.
be as long as Milwaukee.
I mean, that would be my preference, but
Mhm.
Okay,
That's
But
also my preference, yeah.
all right.
Ditto.
Sounds like we'll defer to that
That'll
then.
work.
Excellent. And that, what was that date again? I'm sorry.
13th,
December 13th?
December
Yes.
13th, the Wednesday.
it's just in the morning, at the high school auditorium.
All right, we'll send us notes.
We
on
will
that.
definitely make sure you have it on the calendar.
No one cares about your trips anymore.
Oh, are you here then?
I'd be flying back from Kenya that day, so.
Every 2 weeks is in some different country.
Well, maybe we will video this one, because,
Okay.
Yeah,
yeah.
because I did ask if,
Yeah.
I did ask if the sessions had been taped,
Okay.
but
yeah,
unfortunately they
I don't
weren't.
think we have enough time in a school committee meeting
No.
to do it justice.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay, so we will plan on that. Next, if there are no other questions on that, next item is the school committee goals.
So,
I think we need to wait till Jeff returns.
Can I comment on the beauty of the colors, though? I'm just saying, it makes it so much easier.
Oh, color-coded, yes.
Don't
Looks like one of your emails.
you can tell I had my fingers on
Yep.
this.
Makes it easier, pops right out again. As my eyes get older. Do you want me to? Not old enough yet for readers. Here.
Just for your information, we have 100 school choice students.
100 school choice now.
Contemplating next year's award.
Our total student population is roughly 1650.
1650, I'd go with that. When we're finished tonight, I'd like to take your picture holding tomorrow's sign. You do this on Thursday, and I've never gotten you guys in one.
I was in one. I was in the first one.
Were you?
Oh, Pittsburgh's open house,
Yep.
or Sundays or something.
Yeah. Sneak a peek at it.
Family or just me?
Where'd you go?
Are we still on?
Well, we're,
I know, sorry.
Oh, we're waiting on you.
Yeah.
yeah, we're waiting on Jeff because it doesn't make sense for us to
Yeah, I got you.
move forward without
I was
him.
wondering why suddenly we were talking about my birthday.
Yeah. Well, I started with the colors, and then there was a lag and a lull, so I'm a pleaser.
We're all planning to go out together on the last minute. A friend.
Anybody do
offered to take the
cabaret?
kids.
Yeah.
Except we went to the restaurant we wanted to go to, it was closed. Because it's
Oh.
Cape Cod.
We waited on you just to make it a little
Thank you
more
very
awkward.
much. Yeah, oh, good for me to walk in,
Added 5 minutes to the
Everybody's
meeting.
staring at me.
All right, I will turn it over to the superintendent to walk through what has been put together for us.
So what you have are the goal number 1, which was worked on when we had our little goal-setting retreat. That is tied to the 2 goals in our Blueprint for Progress, the first 2 goals, which have to do with teaching and learning and using data strategically. And there are 3 action steps shown there. And then the second goal is tied to our 3rd Blueprint for Progress goal, which has to do with community engagement. And there is 1 action step shown there. There was the Google Doc that's shared with everyone for some more editing, but it didn't seem that everybody had yet added their thoughts to that. So what we did was add the bottom piece that says the school committee members will work with the superintendent, assistant superintendent, and business administrator to further define the components of each action step listed above. And a member of the school committee will be designated as the lead for each action step.
This is missing some stuff.
So this is more like the, yeah, it's missing the little details that we have
Yeah.
not resolved
The
yet.
step-
Okay.
So the
particular steps.
the sub-steps for each action step need to be worked on.
Okay. I thought that was a specific action step for the new committee member orientation. I didn't think that was something that needed further discussion. Because it's not on
That-
there.
No, that was under
That
this.
comes under 1B.
Yeah.
1B, effectiveness of the school committee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Oh, that makes
that's
perfectly
one
good
of those,
sense.
yeah.
Alrighty.
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 action steps.
So we need 1 more, so each committee person.
I
knew
think
she
that
was-
more than one person can work on 1A,
Yeah.
that's for darn sure. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and 1B is
Yeah.
a big
Yeah,
one too.
they're
Piece of
meaty,
cake.
they're meaty. Maybe not so much 1C, but 1A, B, and 2A.
I'll have these done in
We
minutes.
got,
This
we
is-
got 6 pages in 1B.
1 hour.
Yeah, exactly.
done.
I'm done. All meetings will be 1 hour, once every quarter.
Oh, wow.
right.
Once a
So-
month. Maybe twice a quarter if there's an emergency.
I mean, recognizing that this is really our first major effort to try to do this, you know, it is going to be a work in progress, and there's a lot of things to do here. This sounds like a reasonable approach from my perspective. Other thoughts by the committee members? Nicole?
I think it looks good. I think it loosely translates to getting our ducks in a row, basically. I mean, sort of improving the efficiency of the committee, getting a fiscal picture looking forward, having a communications outreach strategy hand in hand with that. I think it's a nice little complementary, and then the bit about adopting policy guidance oversight from MASC, I think is just astute management, so I feel like it's a little bit of everything that we need, I think. And if we could do this, I would be really very pleased.
No, I agree. I think they're very basic. Of course, they're basic building blocks with a ton of parts,
Yeah.
potentially.
Right.
And my only concern is looking at, when I was talking to Patty about this the other day, she goes, well, it's really going to be me and Hope doing a lot of this. And I thought, oh, geez, well, these are our goals. But I would put it back on you guys to say, do these action steps encompass things that you need and want, and
Yes.
that we're
Definitely.
helping you?
Definitely.
Okay.
I mean, does anybody feel that it shouldn't be on your shoulders, though? I don't
No.
feel like any of this should be on your shoulders.
Oh.
I mean, I agree with the
It's not
working.
shoulders, I think
Definitely,
it's a collaboration.
no, the collaboration, I completely
Yeah,
agree
yeah.
with, but I don't think that any of this, developing the station financial roadmap, I should be looking at.
What?
I'm waiting for that vote.
What?
Right, no, I mean, I don't think, I mean, I think that we'll work together to build it, but
Yeah.
I'm not saying that the end of the tunnel's not going to create work for someone. I mean, that's kind of how it works, unfortunately, but, yeah, I would hope that none of this is done by anybody in the administration, except for when we need to ask questions and help. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I think this is our work, this is what we do every day. So just making sure that the two trains are running together.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
Is fantastic.
Yeah.
It looks super exciting.
Just want to make sure you're on board.
I am choo-choo.
Do you
Yeah.
anticipate we will need another sort of goal, separate meeting to work out some of the components that we hadn't yet, unless you're good with working off the Google Doc? But thank you, Mr. Corman, I think you're the only one that's explored the Google Doc.
Oh, yes, I did make a plethora of comments and had a nice conversation with Hope at the
Not
same time.
conversation.
Well, you didn't answer back. I did so.
Oh, no, I didn't get
I
it.
wrote like a dissertation.
Dude, I've been waiting for that. I even asked. I went on today.
All right, so,
It's in the
No,
cloud.
I did it
It's in the cloud.
15 minutes after you sent me the comment, I responded back. Thank you very much, Google Cloud.
Let's
so, so personally, I think, what we should do is, assign ownership,
Boom. Yeah.
and then based on that, the owners can work with with the administration. And the only thing that I would also add is then this should be part of our standing report out
Mhm.
once a month. I think that would be reasonable for each of those owners to provide an update to the committee on what's is going on. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
I would say that number one and possibly number two would be better off with two people rather than just one.
Yeah, I think there can be multiple
Yeah, rather than
individuals.
just one person being responsible. I think the other two,
It is. You could actually use that as your
I could use
project.
that, I could.
Mhm.
yeah.
Well, and 1C would probably go with the two people that are on the
Policy
policy
committee,
subcommittee.
yeah.
And somebody should teach you how to use Google Docs.
Yeah, what the hell? I mean, there's no save button. I just did it, and I honestly wrote like
okay.
5 paragraphs.
So,
I was really hurt.
So to move this forward expeditiously, do I have volunteers
Yeah,
for
volunteer for 1A.
1A? I have Jeff
probably.
and George.
You and I.
That sounds, I don't particularly care for you, so this is going to be perfect.
Is what? Doesn't have to be.
Nothing, I'm just talking to you.
It's
been this way since I joined the committee.
And the poor guy we voted at the exact same time, so it's been from day one.
As with our goals, everything's a work in progress, so. 1B, in regard to protocols.
I'll follow Jeff's recommendation and I'll volunteer for that one.
You want to do that one? Okay.
And the reason I recommended it, if you want to know, is that Mr. Santos here is going to get his Lean Six black belt.
Taking it on Friday.
And I was saying this would be a perfect opportunity for him to use this as a project.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So,
Congrats.
Yeah, okay. Hopefully I get it. I'm testing on Friday.
We always need a green one. All right. 1C, policy guidance oversight for masks.
So Patty just suggested that as the policy committee members, Chris and I should be on that,
Okay.
which I'm fine with. I don't know how much is there to do, but just to track.
Yeah, that's,
I-
I believe the MASC representative is going to, do the bulk and then update us, and then you decide what changes.
Yeah.
are you doing 1B by yourself?
I can.
I know, I'm just asking.
Wants to-
Nobody else rolls their hand.
No, I would like to,
I'm friendly with everybody, so if anyone wants to.
I can help you with that.
What would you like to do, Don?
I was going to say,
Would be.
I can either help with 1B, 3's a crowd for 1A, so, which would be another one, but so Chris and Don for 1B, okay, and then Chris and Nicole for 1C, and then that currently would leave us with 2A.
Yeah, I would like to do 2A.
Nicole? Does anyone else want to work with Nicole on that?
I think it's kind of good to have two on every one. Just
How about George? How
I'm
about
just saying, I
George?
think it's nice, kind of good to have two on each one.
Or
Yeah,
George?
to help carry the load.
Yeah.
I mean,
Chris has got 2, George, I, and Don have 1. I mean, if you need assistance, I'll be more than happy to volunteer, but.
For 2A?
For 2A.
Yep,
but-
that'd be
okay.
great.
Nicole
Okay.
and
I think
Me.
your perspective would be good as both a veteran and,
cool, let's do it.
and I would just point out if you're finding that you need more assistance, we can always split it up. So we'll just start here, and then we'll report out at the, we have one meeting, 2 meetings in November?
Yep,
I
one.
think it's one.
I think we only have
One
one.
because of the.
So it would be the first meeting in December,
Be the first report out?
would be the first
I
report
will
out.
be here.
How about the,
That's why we have two people on.
Yeah, exactly.
Way to go, Jeff.
I'm gonna be in the Seychelles.
will you be here for the
I
second?
hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, you should
I
go.
swing
It's
by.
George,
Yeah.
will you be here for the second meeting in December?
Yes. It's the dates of the, I have to look at my calendar, but I'm pretty sure I am.
All right,
The first one's the 6th of December?
I think so.
Yeah.
Is there 2 meetings?
13th, 20th, yes, I'll be here the 20th, yeah.
The 20th?
I didn't make it.
I know.
Oh, come on. We
All
voted
right.
on that,
Supposed to be
on that
a
agenda, or
holiday.
I
the
wasn't
schedule
here.
too, I know.
Oh, the 20th?
I like that plan. I'm not keen on that. That's good.
What's that?
That's supposed to be our
Excellent.
holiday dinner when we all go out
I'll
together.
be,
Oh, there you go. You know me, I'm
Okay.
all for that.
So we'll plan on having that on the agenda for December 6th.
Yeah.
first in December.
And I think
Sorry.
the one thing to remember is these are all of our goals. I mean, we're all keenly interested in all of these.
Yeah.
So you really just are de facto, we're like the representatives
Yeah,
of the full committee.
good focus.
Yeah,
Yeah,
on this,
so-
yeah. In
Because
order-
I was very torn. I'm like,
Mm.
that budget one is just calling to me, but I think we're in sync, so.
No, I think we are.
Yeah.
I think actually all of us are in sync.
Yeah.
We just have different ways of speaking about it, and I may not be the
Yeah.
appropriate mouthpiece anymore.
So so further defining any sort of sub-steps in each of these, are we going to still work from a Google Doc that,
Yeah, I think we should.
I think we can, but
Clearly,
I think
cannot
that's part
work
of
on
the,
Google Doc.
well, no, you're very good with the crossing out and adding words.
Yes.
Changes you've got.
Yes, yes, I got that.
Responding to comments, not so much.
well, I think that's a good
Push
way to
reply.
share things that we're working
Yeah.
on, right? Or like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I, what about if the two leaders of the group, of the action step, take the lead of fleshing out their action step, and everyone else gets comments about that.
Well,
That makes sense.
Not to Donald.
well, I'm
We
ju-
can't, we also, is that an open meeting? by the way?
Yeah, it's,
Oh.
yeah, because you're deliberating. So the persons that are assigned will be the owners of the documents. If other people want to read them,
Let's discuss them during open meeting.
but they should not be responding or writing
So
any
read
comments.
only for everybody else.
Read only for everybody else. If we can set that up,
Easy.
okay?
Yes, I
We'll,
will.
we'll set it up so that, yeah.
Or
Well, we're gonna
You'll
own-
only
we're
have,
gonna
you'll
own
have
them,
edit rights,
you'll figure it out.
and you'll have viewing rights for everyone. Okay? That's what I will make sure you all have
All right.
tomorrow.
But-
Thank you.
Just to make sure everyone understands the ground rules so that we don't trip ourselves up.
You can't, you won't be able to physically.
No, I know, but commenting back, so, okay. Any other,
Thinking about that, Jeff?
I am.
Does that not work?
I don't know, and I don't want to be the stick in the mud.
No,
but
be
if
the
you're,
stick
if
in the
you're,
mud.
if I'm watching changes to a document that's, is that, yeah, I don't know. I just think, me personally, we should treat this like a regular subcommittee meeting where it's done by the two people who are doing it, and then the information is provided to the school committee at an open meeting so we can discuss it.
Yeah.
And don't do any kind of viewing. I just don't want anybody to say, well, you guys have all been watching the changes and watching them basically discuss amongst themselves, forming and relating opinions. I don't know. It only takes one person to get mad at
We
us.
could keep the document locked. We don't have to present it at a meeting. It can be given to everybody once we figure we're done with it. If
Oh, yeah.
that- If that's your concern?
No, my concern was that we should
No, I know what you're
treat this
saying.
like a regular subcommittee where the only two people that are doing any discussing about whatever the topic is are the two people on the subcommittee, and then that's presented in open meeting.
No, you're absolutely
Yeah,
right, but
yeah.
then, once we're done with it, we shouldn't have to wait till the meeting. We can give it to everybody so they can absorb it
Yeah.
for the meeting.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, just like a packet.
part of the
Yeah, just like a
packet,
packet.
yeah.
Yeah, I got
Do you
that.
want me to create a Google Doc for each of you with your things?
Yeah, I guess lock everybody
That
else out.
will only be shared with the two people on the subcommittee?
I think
That's
that
what I
makes
would
sense.
request.
Yes, I'm happy to do that.
Okay,
No
That-
problem.
let's be safe.
I don't
No, it's
All
better to, right, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So for each action step, there's going to be the two of us and two of you.
Right,
'Cause that way, we do want that,
yeah, you can have that
Yeah.
interaction,
ability to what?
give you some suggestions
yes.
or comments.
There's an X button.
And criticize it.
It's just that we can't deliberate amongst ourselves.
With you.
Okay, anything else on this? Hearing no further discussion, moving forward then, 8.1. For those who don't know, there's a public vote coming up next week in regard to Upper Cape Tech and their funding request for a new building. That is on the 24th, I believe.
That is correct.
And my public announcement, for anyone who is interested in doing an absentee ballot, the town clerk has absentee ballots available up until, and you can pick them up until noon on Monday. So that's noon on Monday to get an absentee ballot if you're not going to be able to vote on the 24th in person. And I believe that election is in the afternoon, right? Is it all day here? It's all day here?
All day.
I thought it was 12 to 8.
Oh, really?
That's what I
Here?
thought.
Simultaneous, we have a school committee meeting that night.
October 24th?
That's a Tuesday.
Oh, sorry, I'm looking at a different month, sorry.
So you think the voting's 12, well, whatever, we'll find out. And I'm
We
gonna
should
send that
double check.
on my Friday thing, too. So
Okay.
the absentee ballots. noon.
So by noon on Monday, you have to pick up an absentee ballot. Okay, so that was my public relations comment on behalf
Wait,
of
the
the
election, it's on the
24th,
24th.
Tuesday, isn't it?
23rd is the Monday, correct?
Yes,
October.
okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
got it.
All right.
We meet the 20th.
Then, after that public announcement, then I guess the question is whether or not the school committee is interested in taking a position in regard to the funding request for the Upper Cape Tech building.
Wait.
I mean, I'm not. I would rather concentrate on what we can do to improve our technology programs and alternative paths at the school. I don't honestly think it's the school committee's purview, to use a well-coined term, to kind of interject ourselves into a town-lawn political debate. I'm sorry, Cape Cod regional political debate. That's just me.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if what you're saying is you don't agree that the committee should take a position,
Exactly.
I agree.
Okay.
I mean, I have my own position.
Yeah, I have my own
It's
personal
not that I'm making
position, but
nothing to talk about here.
as a public body, the committee, I don't believe should get involved in it because it's really it's a town issue, dealing with the overall town budget. And
Okay.
we're separate from it.
Anyone feel differently? All right. So, good enough. We will move on from that. I just wanted to make sure that everyone had the opportunity. The next item on your list here is MASC annual meeting is coming up in November. We need to designate an official voting delegate and an alternate. And I believe that has to be signed by the superintendent and submitted to MASC by the 20th. So this would be the person that would be representing the Mashpee School Committee at the MASC meeting in Hyannis. And I believe that's on Friday. And I think it's Friday that they have the business.
Well, I'm planning to be there on Friday.
I'll be there as well.
Yeah, I plan on
So-
being there, but
So
So we all are going to be there on Friday?
Yeah.
So we can have one voting delegate and one alternate for the committee.
Well, if everybody's going to be there, it probably makes sense for the chair or the vice chair.
Yeah, so I was just thinking,
I mean,
if we're all
normally
going
that-
to be there, then why don't you
Normally
guys
it's
do
the
it?
chairman. Yeah.
I would prefer to defer just because my schedule's crazy.
Oh, okay.
And I'll
Um,
volunteer to be the primary delegate.
then I'll still be the alternate.
Or you can be the primary if you want to be, I don't care, because you are the vice chair.
Yeah? You sure?
Sir.
All right.
Okay, so,
No, I'll be primary alternate,
Okay.
so I'll take primary.
we're going to do that as a motion, and we have a motion.
I'll move Chris be the chair and Jeff be the alternate.
Chris will be the primary.
Primary.
Primary, sorry.
The primary
Voting delegate.
Voting
Primary
delegate.
Primary voting delegate.
And Jeff will
is
be
the
the alternate. Okay? I'll second that. Any further discussion on that? How do you vote, Nicole?
Yes.
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 And yes, so unanimous. Do you have that form still, or do I need to send that to you?
I do not have that phone.
Okay. I had sent it to you and Gail.
That the reimbursement
Oh,
rate
that
went
should
up
be out.
to like 51 point something.
Yeah.
If not, I think I may
I'll
have,
get it filled in. Do you have to sign
This
it?
was printed up.
You have to sign it.
I think it's
I-
like 50%.
I've,
The legislation
I'm like,
got it raised.
okay,
It's like
whatever.
50% now, I believe.
All right, committee reports?
Yeah, finance. I just handed out a brochure that was available at that meeting about the Cape Cod Regional Technical High School. There has been a change since then in the Cape Cod Times. The state is going to commit $5.3 million more to the Cape Tech project, which is going to save an estimated $10 million with the lower interest rate costs that's going to be coming through there. I checked to see if, with the town finance manager, if that would affect the Quashnet and whether that would lower the funding there. She did not have a definite answer, but in reading this, I don't think it would. It is based upon the number of children who are in a category of special, not special needs, but in need or lower income, that type thing, lower income. So that would not apply. The Finance Committee had a discussion on it and voted 6 to 1, I'm sorry, in favor. They also had a big discussion on the marijuana, which if you attended the town meeting, you can get exactly what their position was there. The Mashpee Task Force had a meeting. The nights are going well. The next one is the first Tuesday in November. An interesting thing coming out from the police department in 2000, opiate overdoses in 2017. In 2015, it was 21. It was 26 last year, and through mid-October, it is 40 so far this year. So we're on a rate to double the opioid calls this year as compared to last year. I think that's basically it. One other thing that we learned I learned at that committee meeting is that prior to the next school committee meeting, our superintendent is going to become a grandmother. Is that correct?
Oh, yes, she was supposed to share this. I don't know, it depends when the baby comes.
Congratulations on that.
Congratulations.
Other,
One other thing, unwanted medication, there's a cake turn-in day, Saturday, October 28th, 10 to 2. And in Mashpee, it's at the police station. There's all the police stations actually on town. But you know where our police station is. It's completely anonymous. You can just walk up there and drop stuff off.
Yeah.
Like a mail slot, actually.
just to clarify on that, anytime an individual has unwanted
anytime, yeah.
Prescription medication, they can drop it off. So they don't have to wait for a special day. So I just want to clarify that.
Yeah,
That's correct.
Please don't flush it down the toilet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Or so.
Other subcommittee reports? Nicole?
I did not bring my notes from the Indian Education meeting, but I attended as the liaison, and a lot of the folks that were at the last school committee meeting were there, and there was a lot of, thank yous and just saying how much they appreciated the school committee coming there. It wasn't Natana, it was the woman that was sitting to my right. She handed out, the woman who runs the immersion program, who gave us the tour of the preschool.
Oh.
Remember her?
I do remember her. I don't
Jen
remember her
Weston.
name.
Jen, I thought it was
The
Jen.
language,
But
yes.
so she shared a description of the curriculum for the language offering at the high school this year. And so we're just briefly talking about the follow-up action so Patty set up a meeting with, at the tribal government for October 30th. So I'm going to attend that, and it's a number of people from the tribe to sort of tick down that list that we came up with in the school committee meeting in terms of follow-up actions. So what was interesting about this curriculum overview was what I suggested was maybe a component would be to just selecting different things from that curriculum for the professional development for the teachers for next year, during that 3-day convocation and all the professional development. So that might be an opportunity. But was there anything else that we talked about at that meeting?
I know they elected officers
Oh,
of the
yeah.
parent committee. So Winnie Graham is the chair.
Hmm.
Shawnee Turner is the vice chair, and Latoya Green is the
Yeah.
secretary.
Yeah.
That was their open house.
Yeah. So I think that's the only thing I have.
I did have one other thing in finance, and it was the big thing that I completely forgot about. We made a presentation, myself and Mike Looney, to the finance committee as to the difference. It's really unfair. I introduced Mike, who made the presentation. It's probably a much better way of saying that. And basically what Mike went through was the differences between what a technical school is and what our high school system is here. The questions were the usual: why can't we transfer a lot of this here? And the answer basically is we don't have the space, and it's not cost effective to build an automotive shop for 4 students, that type thing. Mike handled it very well.
Right, and the report, you all received that, because I emailed it to everybody,
Mhm.
so you know what it said. But it was interesting to find out what shops our kids are in at Cape Tech.
Yes.
And, auto collision is not really something we're gonna reproduce. The health technology was a bigger one, and marine services technology seemed to be, so it's not really something we're gonna replicate in national history.
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Had a couple of other things like dental hygienist program and other things. If they was, I didn't volunteer any of this, but if they were smaller and we could fit within the space, maybe we could do something like that. But we're better off, I think, just the way we are right now.
Yeah.
Because there's licensing and everything else involved. So.
Okay. Anything else?
Now, I think I'm done now. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone
I
else?
think.
George?
Exactly. Any more committee
We're
reports?
almost
So-
back on schedule.
Yeah, so,
Move to
So-
adjourn. Are we done?
no, we got one other item. So, this is at the request of the committee. So, in regard to the next meeting, agenda items that the committee members may specifically want to include, that they may be aware of at this point. Obviously, we tried to send out the agenda earlier this time
Mhm.
for people to have a look at. We will continue to try to work on that going forward, but want to make sure that you have every opportunity to include anything that you feel that necessary to bring forward to the committee.
I just have one that I'm
Yeah.
aware of now, which is the commitment we made to add a Wampanoag item on our
Oh.
agenda, a standing
Mhm.
item report out. So if we could get that for the next meeting. I think we want to do it at the meetings when we don't have
Yeah,
finance.
not the budget meeting.
Yeah, not the budget ones.
Well,
We get the November one.
So I don't know if that's the next one. Oh, it is.
November is combined.
I think so.
Because we only have one in November.
Right.
but that would be early in the agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in that case, I think we should do it because it'll have been 6 weeks or so since we
And-
were there.
And that'll be something we talk about on the 30th with them, so that someone can be prepared to come.
Right.
Yeah,
That's the only thing I would suggest right now.
okay.
I would, at some point, whether it's November or December, would be a report out by Quashnet principal and middle high school principal and MCAS.
Okay. I heard something on the news or on the radio about scores.
And I sent you
Yeah.
an email
Mm.
yesterday that sort of had some, I mean, there's just a tremendous amount of, studying that we need to look into, but, on the surface, today's article talked about, the state average is low and it's a more rigorous test, but there's a lot into that, more of the.
I'm interested to see what you glean out of the next generation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was interesting.
That would be
those
a nice,
numbers.
that would be
Yeah.
a nice thing to hear from you guys
Yeah.
about what you thought, the results were. Because I read the Times article, but there was very little focus on
No,
Mashpee.
just came out.
Yeah, no, she had, right now, it's all now up on the DESI site, so even, it would have taken me a long time to just find out the other district scores
Yeah.
prior to it being public, so they must have access to a
Okay.
different source. So what I want to say is for November, like, a lot of the analysis is going to be with the teacher groups as well, so it may be more than one presentation. Initially, there'll be this piece and then sort of what we discover through our studies, so,
Okay.
yeah, we won't have all the studies done by November.
All right. Well,
We'll get there.
we'll start.
I had mentioned one thing, but do we want to talk about in this 1A thing about setting up perhaps a finance committee and come to some sort of agreement on that before we put it on the agenda? Or do we want?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Then that thing about putting the finance committee on next agenda, I will withdraw that request until
Until you,
I talk
I mean, does
Jeff
anybody have a
into it.
problem with us doing that as part of the goal
Yeah.
building, or do you want to put it a separate line?
Components.
Yeah.
One of the
Or
components
is
of
to
goal building, I think it
Yeah.
fits in better there than,
and I would, from my perspective, as people are going through the goals, we don't have to wait to do everything at the end. We can bring stuff forward for the committee.
I don't see any reason why during the subcommittee reports, we don't provide this is the update we have, these are the action
Mhm.
items we're working on, and we're discussing these. I mean, I think we should be as transparent as possible about it, yeah.
But I guess I was going to say, if there are items that need
A vote,
a vote,
yeah.
Oh, yeah,
we
gotcha.
want
Yeah,
to
understood.
take those
Yeah,
out
understood.
of
Yeah.
the subcommittee reports and put them up separately?
Yeah.
If we approve that, then it should be voted
Understood.
on.
Okay. But I guess my point is, yeah, we don't have to wait and package them all up at the end.
Yeah, concur,
We can
absolutely
do
concur,
them as
otherwise
they're
we won't get anything
available.
done until 6 months from now.
Exactly. Okay.
And you talked about having Jamie Curley do a
Yes.
presentation. Different gaps that she's noticed and what we're responsible for on SPED, but I don't know if you want to do that in a month that we only have one meeting, because we might
And
go
MCAS
till
scores.
11 o'clock. Yeah, MCAS could be a little
Why don't we
lengthy.
save that for the first December one?
Okay.
maybe?
I'd also like to defer to her a little bit too, to make sure she's got her,
Yeah,
all the data she
right.
needs. 'cause-
Yeah.
So we'll find out when she,
It
okay.
didn't take
Yeah.
long.
Yeah, if it's not reasonable to put on the next agenda, we'll carry it forward, because I do know 9 o'clock is maybe a witching time,
The witching hour.
right?
Mm.
So we don't want to extend
Yes,
it.
we certainly don't.
Maybe a 10-year plan from,
To get there.
10-year
All right.
detailed action step plan.
Any other items? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
You certainly do.
Second.
We're going to take the picture after you adjourn.
Okay, so motion by George, second by Chris. Nicole,
Yes.
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 maybe, yes.
What are we taking a picture?
Yes, I am.
Unanimous.